Welcome to PC Sports with your hosts, Jonathan Curve and Noah Baker.
Hi, welcome to PC Sports. I'm your host, Jonathan Croft.
And I'm your co-host, Noah Baker. You know, John, last year's game between inflation and unemployment was too good. I was glued to my TV for like the past 12 months.
Before we check out last night's highlights between inflation and unemployment, I want to first give the fans a brief lesson on how this rivalry was discovered.
All right, tell us what's up.
In 1958, New Zealand-born A.W. Phillips noticed that in the British economy, nominal wages were negatively correlated with unemployment. Paul Samuelson and Robert Solow noticed that this was also the case in the U.S. economy. In 1960, Samuelson and Solow took Phillips' work and created a way to represent this link between inflation and unemployment. They called it the Phillips Curve. Long story short, there's an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment.
Man, that's what's up. You know, I've been watching these games since I was like 6, maybe 4. But you know, I've never heard the story of how it started.
You know, most people haven't, actually.
But it's not that important. But so just show the fans the highlight. This game was something else.
Okay, initial inflation and expected inflation both started out at 4%, and the natural rate of unemployment was 6%. The Fed bought bonds, making inflation 2% higher than expected. Then the unemployment rate fell 2%.
Bang, bang.
In the long run, expected inflation increased to 6%, and the short run Phillips curve shifted to the right, returning unemployment back to where it started at 6%.
PC Sports.
Now I know what you were talking about, Noah. I would have killed to witness that game.
Yo, you telling me. My heart, it was like, John. It was like beating out my chest, like all day, every day, for the past year.
Mine too, man. Those were just highlights.
Just highlights. For the viewers that don't understand what happened or are new to PC Sports, let's review the rules.
Show on the screen.
The rule number 1, as aggregate demand shifts, we move along the short-run Phillips curve in the opposite direction. Rule number 2, as long-run aggregate supply shifts, both the long-run and short-run Phillips curve shifts in opposite directions. Rule number 3, make sure both graphs say the same thing.
PC Sports.
Now that you know the rules, let's take a look at the game between inflation and unemployment in 2005. Both actual and expected inflation started off at 5%. The government increases their spending, causing expected inflation to increase by 3%. The unemployment rate then fell by 3%.
PC Sports.
Man, I remember that like it was 8 years ago. It's a true classic.
Let's talk supply shocks, Noah. Tell the viewers what supply shocks are.
Alright, look, supply shocks, they're giant game changers. It's an event that directly affects firms' costs and prices, shifting both the aggregate supply and the Phillips curves. Let's show them an example.
Well, Noah, just off the top of my head, I can think of the game of 2006 when the price of oil increased. This caused an adverse supply shock that decreased aggregate supply, causing an upward shift in the short-run Phillips curve. As you can see, both the inflation rate and the unemployment rate increased, giving policymakers a much less favorable trade-off between unemployment and inflation. And Noah, this is becoming more and more common.
PC Sports.
Sucks to suck.
On that note, it's time for my favorite part of the show, Noah's bold predictions.
Bang, bang. Well, my prediction for this year's Battle of the Curve is a large decrease in investments, net exports, and government spending.
You do know we can both lose our jobs, right?
Well, you know what they say,
Don't
right?
say it.
Don't hate the player. Guess what? Hate the game.
That's all the time we have here. See you next time on PC Sports.